I always looked at my life as really rough, and everybody's been through a rough life, but the pinche piñata was really, the idea behind it was that life is like being a pinche piñata, and you get beaten, and you get beaten, and you get beaten, and finally we break open. And all the good stuff comes out, right? And that's when everybody wants a piece of you. But then I was like, I do teach kindergartners, how am I going to explain the title of my book to them? I wanted to read something erotic because I felt that was like a feeling. Probably believe I started that. But I don't know. Brianna asked me to read this. Hi, Johnny. Yeah, I remember. This one's called Moscas. Cholitas with blue eyeshadow and aquanet hairdo tore each other's clothes off for everyone in the barrio to see. A nipple the size of the small tortillas my grandma made with leftover flour flopped out from a yellow tube top. The girl with the gold cross retaliated in 2 quarts of café con leche spilled out of a black lace bra. There were sharp smacking sounds like the ones my grandma made working masa for tamales Christmas Eve. But it was summer. Tiny beads of sweat gathered on the dim mustache of the girl with coarse hair on her arms. Their perfumes covered the smell of garbage collected in the sidewalk gutter. They bit into smooth shoulders. Mascara smeared onto the other's skin. Brown lipstick onto the other's neck. A Vans tennis shoe flipped off one of the girl's feet as she stumbled back. She stayed on the ground with her hand open in front of her face to keep the other girl away. One of her earrings was torn out of her ear, and she panted, heaving for air. I'd seen my mother laying in front of my father on the floor in this same defense, and when I remembered what it felt like, then I remembered what it felt like when I wanted to melt into the ground rather than be hit again. So I reached out to help the girl up, but all she did was cover her exposure with her forearm. Someone from behind me told me to stay out of it, so I backed away. And for a moment I wished I'd never seen her nakedness. One of the things that was suggested is that I break the book up into 2 sections, the boy and the man. And I'm mostly going to read 2 from the boy and then 1 from the man. But I want you to understand that when you're young and you see a chichi pop out of a shirt, whether 2 people are beating the shit out of each other or not, it's exciting. You're young. You never seen one before. You're like, oh my gosh. Except for like the magazines that your grandpa hides in the bathroom. Right? We don't have magazines anymore. Everything's online. But back then it was like, oh my gosh, look what I found.
You said Chi-Chi. Yeah.
What was I supposed to say?
I haven't heard that in a long time.
I know, see, because that's the boy, right?
So
That's the boy.
you said Chi-Chi.
That's the boy. Now I'm very, the pectoral muscle covered with, I don't want to get too technical.
Is this what you don't?
Man, I know, huh? I know. And it's on 3 cameras. Now I'm flustered. Oh my gosh. I want to remember my grandfather with this poem. So this is called The Tree Without Roots is Just Another Piece of Wood. Here stands my grandpa. Not Jose, because these are the times when white is right, so no way Jose, but Private Joe Arzate, U.S. Army, a proud veteran, airborne wings tattooed on his log of a leg to remind him of the times he descended into combat. His eyes are black, lost in the shadow of his furrowed brows or the glare of summer sun. It's 81, shirtless, sweating, rusty brown and chiseled under thick black swirls of hair ground too long and wild over his ears. His fists are boulders wrapped in buffalo hide, clenched like his teeth, and he is snarling, muttering, "Never happened, never will," in a tone that sounds like a dare. 2. The Lakers are losing to the Celtics, and if that is not enough to make him sit forward in his recliner, The music thumping through the back of the neighbor's candy apple red 64 Chevy Impala is louder than announcer Chick Hearn. It is more than my grandpa can tolerate. So after he slurps down a raw oyster and a shot of tequila, he marches outside. 3. Senora Sandoval is on her hands and knees, scrubbing away suns. I skip over the stream of bleach, spilled blood, and tears as it trickles down her driveway and into the street. A boy with his t-shirt stamped Hecho en Mexico approaches, and suddenly his head seems too heavy for him. It falls to his side and his hands rise, fingers formed as though he's juggling invisible avocados. Kingi, my grandpa's German shepherd, appears in front of me. Kingi is taller than I am. The kid stops, then starts walking towards his car. The back of his shirt says 100% Mexican. My grandfather takes a step towards the boy and says, "You better be going to shut that trunk. And if I have to come out here again," he growls, "never happens, never will." My grandpa points a finger that seems as long as a Dodger dog and says, "You better listen here. I am an American. I fought for the land you snuck into, so you better find the sense to treat it and the ones who fought to protect it with respect." 4. Now it's Dodgers versus the Pirates, and the Pirates are winning by a ridiculous amount. When the game cuts to a commercial, my grandpa picks up the sports page and studies draft stats. I ask, "Grandpa, if you're an American, he's Mexican, what am I?" He licks his thumb, turns a page, then replies, "You are Chicano, amigo." I tell him, "But my birth certificate says I'm a Caucasian." He chuckles. "Never happens, never will, amigo. Never happens, never will." I should stop.
One more.
One more. See, really, the reason why I said that is because Edward told me I haven't been selling enough books, and it's like everybody else gets 3 poems minimum. I only get 2 unless I buy one more book. Unless I sell one more book today.
Yeah.
Keith, I know you got me. Thanks, Keith. That's terrible. Everybody's seen colors, you know? Alright, here we go. I'm on my way to see colors. I'm on my Patamobile headed south on Hawthorne when 2 guys roll up in a drop Chevy pickup, hit me up, throw up urban American sign language, pointer fingers touching tips of thumbs like somebody who's counted to 3 or assuring you that everything is okay, but it's not if you're a blood. Because this here soldier is a British knight repping hard. BK, blood killer, and he's so blue he could beat Great Street. Jerry curl juice stains a dark cloud onto navy blue upholstery. I look up at the blue sky and pray, then pan from my heart to the gutter to make sure that I am wearing the appropriate colors for the occasion. It's late in '88. Easy E blasts through stolen Serwins from the Kenwood on the dash, probably a Fosgate amp and an Uzi on his lap. I'm in my angel's hat, so when he starts to smile, I start to run. But before he started smiling, he lifted up his gun. Now I was pissed. I was wearing my Payless sneakers. I juked zigzags into blind spots, duck and dodge bullets past a pristine white 74 Monte Carlo. Backseat looking like somebody took a sawed-off shotgun to the cherry Kool-Aid man. Before I hit the corner, I knew someone was dead. Someone bleeding red or so true blue. When I got home, I asked my Theo if I was a blood or a Crip. He said, you can guess, right? He said, "Tell him you're a Democrat or a Republican. Better yet, tell him, I don't know. Let's see, MOG. I didn't know what any of that meant. Later I learned that Democrats wear blue, Republicans wear red, and that MOG meant me and my own gang. Thank you for listening.